All right, Lane. Well, thank you for joining me here today, my friend. So for those of that are listening in, if you could briefly describe your operation, where you're from, and a little bit about your family.
You bet. So, yeah, my name is Lane Van Horn. My wife and I moved back to the family operation. It's been like 3.5 years ago, I guess, and haven't been full time until about a year and a half ago. So just kind of moved back and was integrating back into it. Live kind of middle of Nebraska, middle upper Nebraska, and right on the edge of the sandhills. Had always just been a cow calf operation, and since we moved back, my brother's back as well, and so he's younger than I am, and we've just kind of been working together, I guess, to figure out how to make it work for us to be back. And so a lot of that has been just new ventures, and so one of the main ones is taking in calves background, and so we've never had a wagon on the place even, so it was a big learning curve there. And so we're just really in that growth mode of figuring out how to do more things in house now that we're both back. And so yeah, that's kind of what our operation looks like. I guess we're working on diversifying more. But
So let's talk about before coming into Legacy Farmer. When you guys were running the operation and doing the day to day, what would you say was the biggest thing that you guys were struggling with?
I think for me personally, and probably the business as well, it was just tracking numbers. Me personally, I'm a big picture guy. I really enjoyed the dreaming part of it and seeing how that vision can come together and the implementation as well. But when it comes to the details, getting in the dirt of really trying to figure out, man, how much did we make on this venture? How much did we make this month? Exactly what lost money and why did we lose money? And I feel like that's definitely my weakest point. And I feel like there wouldn't have been any way to go forward without getting that figured out more with the business either.
So let's dive into that because I feel like there's a major problem most farmers and ranchers experience when it comes to that. So inside of your guys' operation, did you guys have a system or a process to help you guys look, analyze, and track the numbers on like a monthly basis to get clear on your position?
We had an accountant in place, but the relationship was just really loose. And so there wasn't much of a structure in place. And I think the reality is agriculture has changed so much. There's so much that has to happen so quick. I mean, last year looks way different than this year, obviously. And so with things rapidly changing so quick, you could maybe not have to be as on top of things, say 20 years ago or however long ago it was. But now, you really can't run a business like this unless you know exactly where you're at on any given day, really. And so, yeah, we didn't have that. And that's where we really felt like, man, we need to find something that can really help us and coach us in being able to build that system. And so that's where Legacy Farmer really came in for us, I guess.
Did you ever truly feel like you had a clear understanding for what the bank was looking at before you guys would like ever walk into the bank?
Not really. I mean, and that's, I was gone for almost 10 years before I came back to the operation. And so a lot of it was a big learning curve for me, just as far as just the lingo, even like, what does that look like? Because growing up, I wasn't really in those rooms, in those conversations. And so that's one thing, is really knowing like what they're talking about, but then even further than that, what are they looking at when they're in the back room? What are they saying when that loan officer takes it to the loan committee? And so that's been really, really huge value add for us as Legacy Farmer, where, Jace was in those rooms as the banker, as the loan officer. And so really understanding what is it that they're looking for. And that's been huge. And I mean, we're still learning obviously a lot, but, yeah, it's been hugely beneficial to kind of change that shift in perspective, I guess, where yes, we are paying to use their money, and we are thankful to be able to do business with whichever bank, but it really does need to work both ways, because if it doesn't, at the end of the day, then you need to find somebody to work with that it does.
Well, it's because too is that you are responsible for, making money, tracking that, are, responsible for at the end of the day making money. But if you are unclear as far as, what the bank truly looks at to feel like you're gaining traction, I feel like that's where the confusion comes in, and a lot of the uncertainty about, am I truly headed in the right direction? Right.
Yep.
And
Yep. Absolutely.
I feel like that has been the biggest thing we've learned here inside Legacy Farmer is as Jace, again, it being in the bank for that amount of years, and coming in and now teaching you guys, one, not knowing that, and it was the same thing for me inside of my farming operation as well. When I farmed, I didn't know exactly what the bank was looking for. I brought my numbers in, got financing, those types of things. But as far as what I call like the financial literacy, what the bank was truly looking at, and if I was doing the right things, I had no idea. I had no idea what they were truly looking for and if I was even in the right direction. It was kind of like you get your operating loan for the year, and there's this expectation. There's this expectation that you need to pay yourself. You need to also pay this money back and make sure that you do this in a timely manner. Because one, if you do lose money throughout the year, if you do lose money, well, then it's like, well, crap. Now what do I do? Now I got to go back in and have this conversation. But in those 12 months throughout the year, I have no way of tracking my numbers. I have no way of looking at how to run this business. There was no training on it, right?
Yep.
And
Yep. And I think that for us, where we're trying to grow rapidly, it's really, really important. We're not just trying to sustain, we're trying to figure out how do you make it in 2022, as an ag business. I mean, I think that's just because the things changing so quick, the margins being what they are, if you don't know exactly where you're at on a given day, I mean, it's really stressful. It's a lot of unneeded stress. I mean, this whole business is stressful enough as it is, but if you can get on top of those numbers and have that clarity and know where you're at on things, know what the bank is needing, that gives you the confidence that you need to be able to run your business, but it also gives the bank confidence when they feel like, oh man, these guys know what they're doing to run their business, and we want to be able to invest in that, and do that in a way that really helps them make money too.
100%. Because look at it in the bank's eyes too. Each month we're having the members, you guys sending your numbers into the bank and updating them on your position, updating them on where your financials are at. Think of through the bank's eyes what they view you as a customer when you are doing that. How much confidence do they have in you then?
Absolutely.
A lot more.
And that's one of our big values as a business, is that we want to be good stewards of whatever we're stewarding. So like when we're custom feeding cattle, we want to steward those cattle well, like they're our own. And no matter what facet of the business, that's a big deal for us. If we can't steward a little bit, then there's no way we're going to be able to steward more. And so the bank looks at that in the same way. If they look at a business and they say, man, they haven't been stewarding this well, why would they choose to invest in that business or to give you a good interest rate? So, I mean, it really, at the end of the day, I mean, it's your responsibility to run your business. And so, but you do need to give them the confidence that it's a good idea.
Well, and it's also too, we look at the bank as well. They aren't out doing what we are doing every single day. They are doing their job of processing the loans and doing that front end of the business. But when it comes to the tracking, we just haven't been taught how to do that. And so when we have members come in, same thing when you guys came in, the first kickoff call, we're going through your financial position, looking at your position as it sits with the bank. Okay, that's great. We can analyze this and give you the information. Now what we need to do though is have a tracking system for the business throughout the year. So going in and putting all your projections in, then going back in, tracking in the actuals, because if I've got a loan payment that's due in July and I'm sitting here in February and March with some cash on hand and I'm kind of getting the urge to, maybe there's a new feed wagon that I'm looking at, but I can see that things maybe are already tight or that I need to stay disciplined. Farmer Metrics is going to allow you to make better business decisions that are going to affect you not only this year, but 2, 3, 4 years down the road and prevent any of those unnecessary expenses. Like how valuable is that to know that and have the certainty that you are headed in the right direction because of your ability to track?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's that saying that you can't manage what you don't measure? I think that there's never been a truer statement, than that right there. And I think that's, another piece of this whole deal is just the community that goes along with it. Having a bunch of guys that are in the same boat where they come to the place where they say, I want to know my business better. Like maybe it's even going okay, but I know that it can do better. Or maybe they're coming into the situation like, man, this hasn't been good for a while, and we need to turn it around, or it's not gonna be here in 5 years. Whatever that situation is, I think anybody that has come to the point of where they decided they want to join this legacy farmer, they have that level of buy-in, and so you're in that room, in a Zoom room or whatever, but you're in that space with those people that are thinking the same way that you are and are able to keep you accountable and are really thinking about their business in a way where they want to steward it better. I mean, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And the value there is huge.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you 100% because you get on those calls, you know, it's working through not only teaching you guys what the bank's looking at, how to track your position, but also to be able to have members that come in who are struggling, who are looking to figure out their cash flow because there are problems. And to be able to hear from other members who are doing business, let's say all the way up in, you know, over in Montana, all the way down into Texas, whether it's cattle, whether it's row crops, but to be able to see what's been working for them and what hasn't worked. What's crazy to me is the problems that you are able to avoid by listening to how somebody else has already experienced that. Like how valuable is that as well to know that, or how valuable that is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, nobody's accused me of being the sharpest tool in the room, but I guess one of my main learning points is obviously there's a lot of just doing it and failing, but I do feel like I have been able throughout my life to be able to look at what other people have done and say, oh, that didn't work very good. And so there is a ton of value to be able to bounce ideas off and say, hey guys, I'm thinking about this thing. What do you think? Oh, I tried that. That really didn't work. Maybe it'll work in your position, but think about this at least before you take that step. And that's been extremely valuable. And they don't have a biased position on it. You know, it's not somebody, they just want your best interest in mind. There's no competition there. They're just saying, hey, when I did this, this is what I saw. And so to really have that feedback is pretty incredible.
Yep. 100%. So I want to ask you, so what does this mean to you and your family, knowing that you have a better understanding or better system to help track your financials for the operation?
I would say just the wait. And we're still in the process of it. It's not like, hey, we've arrived by any means. It's not like you sign up for Legacy Farmer and then week one, everything is roses. It doesn't work like that. You got to put in the time. And that's something that personally I have to work on more, is making sure, because I understand the value there is to being in the office, but it's making sure that things are covered outside to where the time that needs to be spent in the office can be spent in the office. But I really do believe that just like a house, there's got to be that good foundation there, and the foundation is the numbers. And if you don't know the numbers of your business, there's no way that house is going to stay long term, and there's definitely no way that you can put an addition on that house and plan on that really working. You can't build that business larger without that foundation being taken care of. And so, I mean, for us, I've looked at a lot of guys that have been in ag their whole life, maybe even ones that have been incredibly successful, but the amount of weight, the stress on their life, the lack of time spent with family, whatever it is, it's not something I want to sign up for. I want to be able to live a life where I can breathe, I can enjoy my family, keep the main things. I mean, we love this business or we wouldn't do it. And it requires a lot more than other ones do it. And sometimes you got to be out, night checking during calving. And part of that's just there, obviously. But man, when you can just take that huge piece off of your mind, that weight, and just know, hey, I know this is where we're at. Maybe we're not where we want to be today, where we want to be in 10 years, but you got a plan of action to get there. And just that clarity alone is just absolutely priceless.
I would agree 100% what you said. Yep. You do have to come in, you have to be wanting and willing. And that's why I forget how many applications we're up to here, but that's, there's thousands of members who have applied to become of this. And Joni will tell you when she's on the phone with somebody who doesn't sound like they're a good fit, we're not going to even offer them the chance to come into this, because again, we know what it takes to make these changes happen. And somebody has to be the right fit for this. There is an environment. There's a willingness to change, to learn. And if that doesn't follow with then those are our values. If your values don't match, my friend, I'm sorry, this isn't the place. And I feel like we're very clear on that moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just that idea of learning. I mean, this business moves so fast. If you're locked into you're going to farm or you're going to run cattle or whatever the exact same way you did 30 years ago, I mean, it's pretty tough to make it work that way. It's just changing so quick that you got to be willing to be adaptable. And it's fun to be around people that are all willing to grow and try something different and just challenge themselves.
So last question, if somebody were to be sitting on the fence with Legacy Farmer, they've been following with all the Facebook and with the testimonials, all of these things. So if somebody has been listening in, what is something you would tell somebody who is sitting on the fence with Legacy Farmer?
I would say, so for me, for instance, I watched all the videos, I think every testimonial before. I had Facebook ads popping up like crazy. I mean, it was over a year of me being on the fence about it. Um, I guess anytime, like if there's somebody coming on the team, our team, joining us to be a part of our team and with our business or whatever it is, I always am really careful to not twist an arm. I always tell them, like, you need to know that you feel good about this. So ask as many questions as you need. But the reality is, when you go through those videos and you can see the stories and you can see the testimonies over and over again, I mean, that speaks volumes. But at the end of the day, you need to be sure that you're in. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth it. You need to know what your goal is, and you need to know that you're going to put the time in to do this thing. So I'd say until you're really ready to make changes, then it's probably not the good time for you. You need to be ready to make some major changes in your business. And if you're willing to put the work in, you're going to get some changes. I mean, the results will be there. But yeah, I'd say watch the videos. And then if you got questions after that, then, I mean, you guys have been incredible just answering any question we've ever had. That's been really great.
I think you summed it up perfectly. And it comes down to the person's got to be willing to make the changes. I mean, we have everything. I feel like we've, built out to this, the true problems. And if a person doesn't want to make the changes, it's going to be the consequences that person will need to be facing one day. And that's on the person. You can't force somebody to make a decision they don't want to make. But we know when members sign up and they make the commitment from day one, it is go time. Like, we are getting to business. We're getting on the kickoff call, getting your financial position, teaching you about the numbers. Like, it's go time, day one. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And not every day feels like progress. I think you had just said here in an earlier conversation, just the idea when you expose more of that, sometimes it feels like more daunting, but it's just because you expose what you need to make happen. So there's times throughout this process in any business, but this process is no different, where it's like, man, this seems like a lot. But the way that you guys have outlined the trainings and stuff, there's always another step. Or when we get to a spot and feel like, man, I feel stuck, then you can hop on a call with one of you guys and you can say, hey, just this thing, let's just make this the goal for the week. And that's been incredibly valuable to be able to get honed in and stay focused on just the next step.
100%, because that's what it takes. Because here's the thing too, is as your awareness increases around business, you're gonna be exposed to more problems that you didn't even know before was a problem. And so as more problems come up, yeah, some are going to be very challenging, but here's the thing, you're finally being exposed to that problem. And we're actually solving these that should have been solved 20, 30 years ago in some cases. And it is heavy. But again, that's the reason to teach you guys onto this, because again, after you solve those problems, you just have this understanding, and this weight, as you talked about earlier, starts to come off. And that's where the fruits come in. And not only for the moment that, like, the weight comes off then, but think of the next generation, the problems you have solved for them, and you're going to be able to teach them about business, about numbers. You're literally it's a generational shift is what's happening here, if you agree with that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And then that's something we're focused on every single day, is what's the reason that we're doing what we're doing. And for us, it is truly people, because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. And so what is the point in what you're doing? And man, we really want to do what we're doing to invest in people. And that means the next generation as well. So we want to set them up to succeed. And really, I mean, if we did all this, we get ourselves in an incredible position for the next generation. And then they say, hey, you know what? This isn't for us. Like, we don't want to have our identity so wrapped up into this that would break us, that we could say, you know what? That's great. We still gave you all the tools to make the right decision. And in the meantime, we get to raise our family in this business. And we just really believe that in order to do what we want, what we love doing, we got to be on top of these small things so that we can make this thing work for families and whoever wants to be back a part of it. And so it's putting in this work here that makes all that possible, makes it possible to take the kiddos along and check cows in the Polaris and those kind of things that are fun. They're really fun parts. And you don't have to be thinking about, oh man, where are we at with this thing? You can just be present. That's really huge for us.
100%. 100%. Awesome. All right, Lane. Well, I thank you for joining here today, my friend. This was extremely valuable.
You bet. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. We appreciate everything you guys done for us so far. So
awesome. Thanks, man.